If you were asked to name all the danger spots in the world that might have a catastrophic effect in your lifetime, the chances are La Palma in the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Africa would not be one of them. A slide of this mountain could cause millions of deaths throughout Europe, America, and Spain. La Palma is a small island in the Canary Islands that's made up completely by two volcanoes, one active in the south of the island and one extinct in the north. Now, La Palma is a small island of no real consequence. That was until 1958, when there was a mega-tsunami at Lituya Bay in Alaska, which posed a lot of unanswered questions. Now, the mega-tsunami wave in Lituya Bay measured a height of 100 feet. And when the wave that hit the cliff travelled up the face, it reached a height of 1,640 feet surrounding the bay. Now, the puzzle it left behind that scientists were then asking was, how was it that a wave of 100 feet could climb so high up the face of a cliff? The puzzlement was because there was no eruption or earthquakes in the whole of the area. So what had caused this? Scientists eventually realized that this was not an earthquake that had created the wave, so they started to search the whole geographic area. And they found, to their utter surprise, that 90 million tons of rock had just slid off the side in a landslide straight into the water, and that caused a mega tsunami, and it because that this was an exceptional wave that they named it a mega tsunami, which is the name we all use today. The fact that this was a wave makes all the difference. When 90 million tons of rock hit Lituya Bay in one instance, the effect it had on the water caused the water to roll uphill to such a great height as can be seen on the side of the cliff. When scientists found that a landslide had caused this, they began looking around the world to see, could this happen again somewhere else? And that's when La Palma got their attention. A volcanic eruption on Cumbre Vieja, the southern volcano, in 1949 had made this volcano very dangerous indeed. In fact, the 1949 eruption was found to have caused a crack on the western side in the active volcano, measuring some 1.6 miles or 2.5 kilometers in length. It was also noticed that on the western side of the volcano, part of the slope had slipped 13 feet lower, leaving a rift in the volcano. In 1971, the volcano erupted again, but this time it was only a small eruption. And when it finally died down, scientists went back in and began to investigate the original split. They found, to their horror, that although the split on the surface, which was 1.6 miles long, after taking measurements and using special instruments, they now believe that the bottom of the split underneath could in fact run as long as 12.5 miles, and that is indeed worrying. In 1999, a report claimed that the western part of the volcano could be in the initial stages of failure, and the BBC programme Horizon revealed in 2000 just how dangerous this volcano could be, and that the next eruption could be the one, and the earthquakes that come with it, that could just disrupt the friction and allow a 20-mile section to slide into the sea at 200 miles an hour. It would spawn the biggest natural disaster in human history. So why could this happen? Well, Cumbre Vieja has a unique rock formation. It has layers of rock that allow water to penetrate. But over time, when lava has risen, it's formed impervious walls, and so the water collects between them. It's only friction that stops slopes from moving. But when you have earthquakes, water moves into the areas of rock at the sides, having been loosened and cracked by splitting open the walls of the impervious rock that's risen. And because the water then moves into these areas, it loosens the friction, and so there is a danger of the land starting to move and slip away. This is exactly what is happening on Cumbre Vieja, which one part of it has already slipped and moved some 13 feet towards the sea. In 2016, it was struck by up to 70 small earthquakes, which were recorded between Monday and Wednesday, reaching between magnitude 1.5 and 2.6 on the Richter scale. And at that time, the Canary government stepped in and called for an urgent meeting to take place to discuss why the quakes were happening and what might happen in the future. Then, in November 2017, it was recorded 928 volcanic tremors of 2.5 on the Richter scale from this area. And even in this year, 2018, in February, there were 85 tremors. Seismic movements in a week had recorded these. Now, monitoring had been stepped up, and it's currently at the highest level it could be across La Palma, with around 20 detection stations and geochemical testing. But what this means is that should the western side of Cumbre Vieja collapse, 500 billion tons of rock travelling at 200 miles an hour could hit the Atlantic Ocean in one foul swoop. And that would create a mega-tsunami which would surge across the ocean. The western Saharan coast of Morocco would be the first target, as the wave, measuring some 330 feet, would batter its shores at speeds of up to 500 miles an hour. As the wave travels across the ocean, it would build to over 2,640 feet in height, and it would also be several miles wide. Travelling at a speed of 220 miles an hour, it would hit the western coast of the United States causing utter devastation. Anyone in a 20-mile distance from the coast would drown. Buildings, industrial complexes would all be ripped apart and be washed away, and it would be worse than the worst Japanese tsunami. On its terrifying rush to the United States, it would also hit and destroy parts of Africa, Spain, France, England, and Ireland. Anyone within 20 miles of the coast in America from New York to Miami would be totally swept up and drowned. The damage cost alone could run into trillions of dollars. It just takes 8 hours to cross the Atlantic, so there would be plenty of notice. However, people in Africa would just have 1 hour's notice, while in Spain, France, England and Ireland would only just have 3 to 5 hours notice to head for the high ground or move inland to get out of its killing force. Dr. Day of the Institute for Risk and Disaster Reduction at the University College London said a weaker but still massively destructive wave is likely to batter Britain. It is thought thousands of people living in Britain's southernmost coastal cities and towns, including Cornwall, Devon and Portsmouth, could be wiped out within hours. That's assuming no effective evacuation was in place. In addition, Portsmouth Naval Port would go, and the most worrying thing is that the UK have a nuclear installation at Devonport Naval Base, Winfrith Reactor Test Site, and the Dungeness A power station, all at severe risk of destruction. Everyone thinks that this will not happen to them until it's too late. Scientists are continuing to closely monitor the volcano, but certainly if you are in the UK, Spain, France, or USA, if you hear that this volcano has erupted and you live within 20 miles of the coast, you better be prepared, because you will not have long to get yourself and relatives or friends out of the danger zone. Because when that 20-mile slab of rock at 200 miles an hour hits the water, the biggest wave in human history will be on its way. And there is nothing that you can do to stop it. You have been warned.